A mysterious noise stunned New Jersey residents last week. Tonight, we're hearing what it sounded like.
Man, that's crazy. It was like a trumpet. It was like a judgment trumpet.
Have you heard anything unusual in the sky lately? These mysterious noises have certainly captured the attention of scientists, who are eager to understand what's causing them. But for the people who've heard them, it's more than just scientific curiosity. These loud, unexplained sounds can be a bit unnerving. So, what exactly are these noises, and where are they coming from? Could they be a sign of the end of the age, as some people are wondering? We'll delve into these questions and explore some possible explanations in this video. The descriptions of the sounds themselves are quite interesting. People have reported a combination of deep rumbling noises, like thunder in the distance, mixed with screeching metal sounds and even haunting wails. What's most puzzling is that these sounds seem to be happening all over the world, with no clear explanation for their source. Residents northeast of Oklahoma City have described a loud, high-pitched noise that keeps them up at night. The strangest part? Just like everywhere else, no one seems to know what it is or where it's coming from. These reports from all corners of the globe have sparked a lively discussion online and in the news, with people trying to piece together the puzzle. These strange sounds are definitely making everyone frightened. It's natural to wonder if they could be a sign of something bigger, and some people are even worried they might be a sign of the apocalypse. The Bible does talk about future events, including things that might happen before Jesus returns. One common question people have is whether the Bible mentions powerful countries, like the United States, and what their future might hold. The good news is, studying the Bible and history can actually give us some clues. It's not just about dry facts, though. Understanding the Bible can help us grasp God's promises and prepare for whatever the future may bring. Before we dive into these strange sounds and their potential meanings, let's take a quick look at what the Bible says about the end times. We'll explore biblical prophecies about the apocalypse and the second coming of Christ. Get ready for a fascinating exploration. Are these sounds truly a sign of the end, or is there a more natural explanation? In the Bible's book of Revelation, written by John, there's a famous part about sounds from the sky during the apocalypse. In chapter 8, verse 16, John describes a really quiet time in heaven for about 30 minutes after the seventh seal is opened. Then, 7 angels appear with 7 trumpets, all ready to blow them. Verse 6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets got ready to blow them." These trumpet blasts are like a warning before a bunch of bad things and disasters happen on earth. It's similar to how trumpets were used in the Old Testament, especially in the book of Exodus, where they signaled God's presence and when he was about to do something important. Also in chapter 11, verses 15 to 19, the blowing of the 7th trumpet is a super important moment in the whole apocalypse story. This part tells us about the end of God's plan for saving some people and punishing others. It means Jesus Christ is coming back soon, and God's perfect world will be on earth. This big event comes with loud noises and bright lights in the sky, like thunder, lightning, and an earthquake, to show how important and powerful it all is. While the 7th trumpet blast marks the peak of God's plan to save the good and punish the bad, with evil being defeated and good winning in the end, there's more to the story. The New Testament also mentions another sound from heaven as a sign of Jesus' return and the end times, the voice of the archangel. In 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17, the Apostle Paul talks about Jesus' future return with a loud trumpet call from God and the voice of the archangel. This passage, often called the rapture, describes believers being raised from the dead and joining Christ when he returns. The archangel's voice acts like an announcement for this huge event, letting everyone know God's promises are coming true and his people are finally being saved. Sounds from heaven, being a sign of the apocalypse or Jesus' return at the end of times, is a common theme throughout the Bible's prophecies. From the trumpets in Revelation to the archangel's voice announcing Jesus, these noises from the sky remind us that God is in control and his plans for history will ultimately play out. As believers wait for these prophecies to come true, they're called to be watchful, stay faithful, and be ready for the Lord's arrival. Many people believe God will send unusual things happening in the sky as a warning before he steps in to punish us for our wrongdoings and save us from destroying ourselves. Some wonder if these are the signs the Bible talks about, signaling the end of the world as we know it. Are we truly in the final moments? Is everything about to end? Some people even think now's a good time for Jesus to come back. There's definitely a belief that Jesus' return might be near. So what does the Bible say? In the book of Joel, God tells the prophet about amazing things that will happen in the sky before a super important day comes. God's message, meant for people living in the end times, goes like this: I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. The Bible talks about other prophets who saw these weird sky happenings too. Isaiah said the stars and constellations would stop shining, the sun would go dark, and the moon wouldn't light up the night. Isn't that interesting that what Joel and Isaiah saw matches what John the Apostle described in a vision? He said, I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it was rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. These crazy things in the sky happening when the sixth seal is opened will totally freak people out. God is basically using these signs as a giant announcement that he's about to step in and take charge. Similar to stories in the Bible about God punishing people for bad things, like the story of Noah, there's a feeling of things getting serious. Believers feel a strong urge to warn others to change their ways and get ready for what might happen next. This feeling of something big being about to happen isn't limited to just one religion. People from many different faiths share a sense of worry and excitement about these strange events. Religious leaders are using them as a chance to remind people of their beliefs and encourage them to get closer to God. It's interesting how these events seem similar to what the Bible prophesied about the end times, especially in Revelation and what Jesus said. There are many Bible verses that seem to describe what's happening now, which makes believers think a lot about what it all means. But what about people who aren't religious? For them, these sounds are just a mystery, something science needs to figure out, not something related to God. Even those who doubt religion can't help but feel a little worried, because these sounds can't be explained by normal science and seem to suggest something big we don't yet understand. Even though scientists have tried explaining these sounds with ideas like air movements or messed up electrical signals, their explanations haven't been perfect. There's still a lot we don't know about these sounds, which keeps people wondering what's really going on. One thing's for sure, these strange noises are a reminder that bad things can happen and that none of us are invincible. Whether you think they're a sign from God or a scientific mystery, they make us think about our biggest fears and how short life can be. When things are scary and confusing, it's natural to want comfort and answers. Religious people might pray and try to follow their faith more closely to feel better. Others might search for explanations, wanting to understand the universe and our place in it all. The most important thing about these sounds isn't necessarily why they're happening, but how they make us feel. They make us think about death, what it means to be alive, and the possibility of there being more to life than we know. As we look up at the night sky and hear these strange sounds, let's find the bravery to search for answers, hold on to hope, and come together no matter what happens next. In a way, these sounds are a message, a call to be better people, a plea for understanding, and a reminder that faith can be strong even when things are scary. Now here's the thing. Some scientists might try to explain these signs as just natural events, like really bad weather instead of signs from God. The Bible, however, says these signs are definitely from God. It's hard to imagine, but many people will probably just ignore them anyway. But those who are paying attention and praying will understand what the signs mean. Did you know that words in the Bible weren't the same as the science words we use today? Back then, people didn't have fancy terms to describe the weather. The Bible talks about the sun, moon, and stars being dark. This kind of thing has happened before, but on a smaller scale. For instance, a thick cloud of smoke from a fire can block out the sun for a bit over a certain area. In 1991, one of the biggest volcanoes in the 20th century erupted in the Philippines. This giant mountain, called Mount Pinatubo, blew out a huge amount of ash, like 1.2 cubic miles of it. The ash cloud spread out like a giant umbrella, reaching 250 miles across and 21 miles high. By the afternoon, everything around the volcano was completely dark. Mount Pinatubo is just one of many volcanoes around the Pacific Ocean. If a bunch of these volcanoes erupted at the same time, they could block out the sun for a long time over a giant area of Earth. Many religions believe that things happening in space have spiritual meanings, and eclipses are a big one. For Christians, the Bible is their guide to understanding space and what it might mean for us. There are even parts of the Bible that talk about scary things happening in space and how they might be connected to the future. One famous part is in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 29 to 31. In this passage, Jesus talks about what will happen when he returns. He says that after a really bad time, the sun will go dark, the moon won't shine, and the stars will fall out of the sky. Then a special sign will appear in the sky, and everyone on earth will be sad. They'll see Jesus coming back on clouds with amazing power. He'll send out angels with a loud trumpet to gather up all the good people from all over the world. This passage in Matthew is interesting because it suggests that weird happenings in space, like the sun and moon going dark, might come before Jesus returns and everything changes forever. Some people who read this passage believe that solar and lunar eclipses, where the sun or moon gets blocked out, might be the kind of darkness Jesus was talking about. They look at these eclipses as a sign that the Bible's prophecies are coming true. Another part of the New Testament, the book of Revelation, also talks about the end of times using dramatic descriptions of space. In Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 to 14, there's a whole section about scary things happening in space. Again, it mentions crazy stuff involving the sun, moon, and stars, which some people connect to eclipses or other space events. The writing in Revelation is kind of like a puzzle with lots of symbols, and experts have different ideas about what it all means, but many agree that it describes a major shakeup in space that goes along with the end of the world as we know it. For centuries, humanity has looked to the heavens for signs, weaving celestial events into the rich tapestry of prophecy. The Bible itself offers a compelling example of this connection. Even the Old Testament, often overshadowed by its New Testament counterpart, brims with passages that imbue the movements of the cosmos with profound meaning. One such example resides in the book of Joel 2:30-31. Here, the text paints a vivid picture of the sun dimming and the moon turning blood red, heralding the momentous day of the Lord, a time of both divine judgment and redemption. This evocative language resonates with descriptions of the end times found in the New Testament, reinforcing the idea that eclipses and other cosmic phenomena hold a deeper spiritual significance within the prophetic tradition. However, interpreting these descriptions too literally might not always be the most fruitful approach. Take, for instance, the passage in Matthew 24:39 that mentions stars falling from heaven. Could this be reinterpreted to encompass a broader range of celestial objects? Perhaps the falling stars represent meteoroids, comets, or asteroids streaking through Earth's atmosphere and creating a breathtaking light show. Interestingly, science aligns with this interpretation. Astronomers estimate a significant number of these objects bombard our planet's surface every year. The connection between celestial events and prophecy goes beyond mere coincidence. The Bible offers a unique perspective where the movements of the cosmos can be interpreted as signs, portents of things to come, or reflections of a divine hand shaping the course of history. Even when the language appears fantastical, as with falling stars, closer examination reveals potential scientific underpinnings. In this way, the Bible demonstrates its ability to bridge the gap between the heavenly and the earthly realms. But suppose the heavenly signs to come are caused by natural laws of physics. In that case, God will orchestrate these events in an extreme and stunning display. If these wonders are supernatural, God can alter the courses of the heavenly bodies and the natural elements from the norm. Besides looking to verses in the Bible, people might also use interpretations of eclipses in a religious way, drawing on other traditions and beliefs. For instance, in Islam, there are ideas about signs in the sky that will happen before the Day of Judgment, which they call the hour or Yawm al-Qiyamah. These signs are mentioned in sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, hadiths, and other Islamic texts, and they're seen as warnings that the end of the world is coming soon. One important sign is the sun rising from a different direction. Islamic teachings say that before Judgment Day, the sun will rise in the west instead of the east, where it normally comes up. This is considered a big warning that the end times are near. Another cosmic event that's supposed to happen before the end is the moon splitting in two. This comes from a story where the Prophet Muhammad supposedly performed a miracle by splitting the moon. Even though this happened during his lifetime, as a special sign of his role as a prophet, it's also seen as a symbol of a similar event that will happen before Judgment Day. In Islam, there's also the idea that the sun and moon getting dark could be signs of Judgment Day. This could be like a partial eclipse, or even the sun and moon disappearing completely. It's seen as a sign that things in nature won't be normal anymore, and that God's judgment is coming. These signs in the sky are believed to be warnings that Judgment Day is on the horizon, which in Islam means the end of the world as we know it and the start of the afterlife. But it's not just Islam that connects eclipses to big events. Even ancient civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs thought eclipses were super important. They often believed eclipses were messages from their gods, warnings, or even battles between celestial beings. For example, the Maya associated eclipses with a giant jaguar swallowing the sun. And getting back to this video we're watching, this recent eclipse is still a mystery. With no clear explanation from science, there are all sorts of theories out there, some crazier than others. People might be looking for religious signs, aliens, or even natural phenomena we haven't discovered yet. Despite throwing everything at this weird noise, no one can figure out what's making it. This has led to all sorts of ideas, from plain old explanations to some real head-scratchers. Dr. Glenn McPherson, who's been digging deep into these sounds, thinks low-frequency radio waves might be to blame. But that's just one theory, and the truth is still out there. Each idea is interesting, but none of them solve the mystery for sure. So, the sound in North St. Louis County isn't the only one giving people the chills. From Canada to New Zealand and everywhere in between, there have been reports of strange noises. But what's causing these spooky sounds? Are they signs from beyond, something natural we just don't understand yet? Or maybe our brains are just making sense of random noises because we're scared of what we don't know? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think is going on with these bizarre sounds? Hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more.